In the quiet town of Willow Creek, life often felt predictable. Weddings happened in grand halls. Families gathered with joy, and stories were told over laughter and music. But sometimes, life had a way of weaving threads from the past into the most unexpected moments. For Martha Reynolds, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a tired smile, working at weddings had become her way of keeping afloat. She had once dreamed of owning her own bakery, of having a house full of family, and of growing old surrounded by children and grandchildren. But life had taken a cruel turn years ago, one she never fully recovered from. 24 years earlier, Martha had been a young mother, raising her little girl, Emily, on her own. Emily's father had left before she was born, but Martha never felt lonely. Her daughter's laughter filled every corner of her heart. But one stormy night, everything changed. While Martha was working a double shift at the diner, Emily, barely 3 years old, disappeared. The babysitter had left her unattended for only a few minutes, and when Martha came home, the front door was open and Emily was gone. Despite endless police searches, flyers, and sleepless nights walking the streets calling her daughter's name, Emily was never found. The years passed, and Martha carried the wound silently. She still baked birthday cakes for Emily each year, placing a single candle on top and whispering, "Happy birthday, my baby," wherever you are. On a chilly autumn afternoon, Martha was hired to work as a server at one of Willow Creek's grandest weddings. The bride was the daughter of a wealthy family in town, and nothing was spared in preparation. White roses draped from the ceiling, crystal chandeliers glimmered, and music filled the air. Martha tied her apron tightly and carried trays of champagne glasses, careful to keep her composure. She had worked hundreds of weddings before, each one a reminder of what she had lost. Seeing mothers walk their daughters down the aisle, watching proud fathers give their speeches, it all tore at her heart. But she always smiled through the pain, because she knew kindness was her strength. When the bride finally entered the hall, everyone gasped. She was radiant in a lace gown, her hair pinned with pearls, her eyes sparkling with joy. Martha froze. Something about the bride's face struck her like lightning. The shape of her jaw, the dimple when she smiled, the way she tilted her head. It was all achingly familiar. Her hands trembled, and a tray nearly slipped from her grip. She whispered to herself, "No, it can't be." The bride looked so much like Emily. Martha tried to dismiss it. After all, 2 decades had passed. What were the odds that her missing daughter would be here, at this wedding in Willow Creek? But as she moved closer to refill glasses, the bride's laughter rang in her ears, and Martha felt tears prick her eyes. It was the same laugh she remembered from a little girl chasing butterflies in their backyard. Later in the evening, Martha found herself stationed near the head table, serving wine. She could not resist stealing glances at the bride. Finally, when the moment came to clear some plates, the bride looked directly at her. "Thank you," the young woman said kindly. "You remind me of someone. I can't explain it. You just feel familiar." Martha's breath caught in her throat. "What's your name, dear?" she asked softly. The bride smiled. "My name's Emily Carter." The glass in Martha's hand slipped and shattered on the floor. Guests gasped, but Martha barely heard them. Emily, her daughter's name. She quickly apologized, kneeling to pick up the pieces, but her heart was racing so fast she thought she might collapse. Later, when most of the guests were dancing, Martha gathered her courage. She approached the bride quietly, away from the crowd. "Forgive me," she began, her voice shaking. "But were you adopted?" Emily blinked, surprised. "Yes, actually. My parents adopted me when I was 3. Why do you ask?" Martha's tears spilled over. "Because I think you're my daughter, the one I lost." Emily's eyes widened in shock. She stepped back, her face pale. "What? That's impossible." But Martha reached into her pocket. She always carried a small locket. Inside was a picture of her holding baby Emily, with her tiny curls and bright eyes. She showed it to her. Emily gasped. It was the same locket she had kept in her jewelry box since childhood, a piece her adoptive parents said had come with her. Her hands trembled as she pulled it out from under her gown. The same locket, the same photograph. The room spun as realization hit. Tears streamed down Emily's face. "Mom," she whispered. Martha could barely stand. "My baby," she sobbed, pulling her into her arms. The music in the hall played on, but a hush spread to the crowd as they noticed a bride crying in the arms of a woman in a server's uniform. The groom, confused at first, soon understood as Emily explained between sobs. "I found her," Emily cried. "This is my mother, my real mother." Gasps echoed through the hall. Guests stood in stunned silence. Even the bride's adoptive parents wept, overwhelmed by the miracle. The groom, kind-hearted and supportive, gently took Martha's hand. "Would you dance with your daughter?" he asked. And so, beneath the golden lights of the wedding hall, Martha and Emily shared their first dance together. Not as server and bride, not as strangers, but as mother and daughter reunited after 2 decades of heartbreak. That night, the wedding became more than a union of 2 souls. It became a celebration of a family restored. Emily's adoptive parents, though emotional, embraced Martha. They had raised Emily with love, but now they understood the bond between a mother and her child was eternal. From that day forward, Martha was no longer alone. She became part of Emily's life again. Birthdays, holidays, ordinary afternoons filled with tea and laughter. The years of loss could not be erased, but they were healed by kindness, forgiveness, and the miracle of reunion. And every year when Martha baked Emily a birthday cake, she no longer whispered her wishes to the empty air. She lit the candles, smiled at her daughter, and said aloud, "Happy birthday, my baby. I'm so glad you're home."